Hold on. You sound a little upset. You mad, huh? Welcome to the podcast where we say the things that you're thinking but won't say out loud. From the hottest debates in sports and politics, the controversies that have everyone talking. Nothing is off limits. We break it down unfiltered and unapologetic. So buckle up, because if you aren't mad yet, you just might be by the end of this episode. Let's dive in.
I was not ready for that.
All right, welcome to the UMAD podcast, conceived out of brotherhood and presented with love. Different experiences, different perspectives, different communication styles make for what we hope will be an engaging, thought-provoking, and transformative vehicle for engaging not only with each other, but with the public in general. Since our lineup will vary week to week, but let me introduce our team. And actually, let me start and do that again because that was pretty bad. I'll just cut it out.
Hey, it was authentic, man. It was cool.
It was.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it again though, because I got a lot more to go. Either way, welcome to the UMAD podcast, conceived out of brotherhood and presented with love. Different experiences, different perspectives, and different communication styles make for what we hope will be an engaging, thought-provoking, and transformative vehicle to engage not only with each other, but with the public. Our lineup will vary week to week, but let me give you an introduction of the panelists today. First up, we have Ken Merritt, and Ken is the primary inspiration for this podcast. Ken's limited tolerance of what he deems acceptable and my desire to poke the bear from time to time seem to be the perfect mixture for some interesting and spirited debates.
You make me mad. You do make me mad, yes.
And it's a good thing sometimes, man. We also have Richard Freon. I call him Rich. Rich is a free thinker that has tough enough skin to take criticism and strong enough to fire back when he needs to. Rich is an avid football and basketball fan with a wealth of knowledge in both sports. And he's the exact opposite of Ken, so we should see some combustible engagements between those two. We also have Anthony Humphrey, or Hump, or Humpty, if you want to call it that, on the cast this week. Hump is a true Renaissance man. He's had exposures to many cultures and societies, and Hump has a very vast network. So if you don't know Hump, then you probably aren't anybody. Hump knows everybody.
If you don't know me, it might be on purpose.
We also have Tyra Bond on, Ty for short. And Ty brings a lot of clarity and humor to any space that he's in. He has the ability to look at any situation, no matter how complex, intricate, or frustrating, and make sense of it. So Ty is always the voice of reason. And then finally, we have me, Paul Fleming, on the podcast, your host or moderator for the session. Some people call me Paul, some people call me P. Rich calls me Chili P. And my man, Robert China, who might join us at some point, just calls me Nasty. I have no idea why he calls me that, but he does. Either way, I'm the laid back, off the beaten path member of the team. It's not dirt bikes or fishing. I'm probably just talking shit, so don't mind me. But if I need to chime in, I will. But let's get this thing started.
Let's
go.
The
first topic for the day is going to be sports. And of course, it's Super Bowl week. So what do you guys think about the matchup?
Hey, I think we've been heading down this path all season. I recall conversations earlier this year. The Chiefs showed some chinks in the armor, but we kind of knew they were going to be there, and it was definitely coming down to Detroit and Philly on the NFC side. And Detroit decided to turn the ball over 5 times. No shame there, Ty, but didn't make it to the championship game, and Philly's there. So I think we're in for a good game. I think it's going to be close, and it's going to come down to some key coaching decisions and maybe some special teams play.
Yeah, I agree that the collision course was there, right? Because you got one team in Philly who's probably been the most, notwithstanding Detroit type, of course, but Detroit because of the injuries. If you take away just like having all the parts, Philly's probably been the most complete team in the NFC all season, right? right? And so, and I was thinking about this earlier. Like they went through a gauntlet to get the record and everything they did. I mean, they beat Baltimore, they beat Pittsburgh, they beat Washington twice. I mean, they earned being there. And on the other side, you got the team though that always finds a way to win, even when they're not the better team, it seems. So this was a collision course that made a lot of sense.
For sure.
Not sure it's the game I wanted to see, but
You and half of America right now. Nobody
Yeah,
wants to see
I don't think anybody wanted to see this game.
And it's Raymond Cooper joining us on the call. What's up,
Good
Ray?
evening, gents. I'm
Good
good.
evening.
How are you guys?
Good.
Excellent.
Special guest, P.
Yeah. We hopefully we'll have Quake on. Quake is what we call him on every week. Now, quick question. So you guys said that this was the game you wanted to see. Is this considered a boring Super Bowl?
Oh no, by
No.
no means, no, not at all.
No.
I mean, let's look back at the first time they met.
Absolutely.
Came
I mean,
down
they
to a late
played-
turnover in the last drive.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I guess 3 now. Wasn't it?
3 years?
3 years ago.
It's going to be an exciting game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be one, if you're a football purist, you're going to see some things. It's going to be a game within a game. Like Pastors fans are going to hate it because it's going to be a lot of X's and O's, a lot of strategy, some well-designed plays that may have some flash. But you're going to see a lot of grinded out football. I expect Mahomes to have over 35 attempts because they're going to put the ball in his hand to win the game. Not to mention that Philly's front four are beasts, so they're not going to have a lot of success running the ball. And then you got Philly, who's going to have to mix it up. It's not going to all be Saquon. They're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have some places on to get the ball in the hand and Smith's hand. So I think God is going to have to work out across the middle. So they're going to have a lot of X's and O's in this game. So it has a potential to be a grind from a defensive standpoint, or it has the potential to be a shootout because both of these teams are very well versed in their offenses.
So, P, I went back and looked on your question. If you're thinking about boring games, and it's got to be better than the Patriots and Rams. Those 13-3, like 5 years ago, right? Right. Even the Rams Bengals a few years ago, that was a solid game, but I'm like everybody else that this one going to be a clash of two really good football teams and well coached, which is why at the end of the day I probably still like the Chiefs because like Reed, Spags, and hell at this point 15's a coach too, isn't he? Right, and so it's going to be interesting.
It's funny you mentioned a boring game, though, and you think about the Super Bowl where the Giants beat the Patriots and where Spags was defense coordinator for the Giants at the time. Patriots only scored 14 points in that game. Do we consider that a boring game, or do we remember it because of the catch that was made, or because Eli beat Brady again, which we'll talk. We need to talk about Eli a little later on, too, but it has the potential to be a very, very X and O's type intense game.
Yeah, if you're not scoring points, though, it's usually boring, in my estimation.
Yeah.
You get to the end of the game, you got 5 minutes left, and it's exciting, and everybody forgets about the prior. But if they're not scoring points, it's definitely boring. But they can make up for it in the last 5 minutes, last quarter of the game.
Yeah. And we had this conversation, I think, before, but if you think about it, the rules of the NFL allow, or they kind of minimize boring games, right? You're starting the ball at the 40-yard line, so you got a chance to kick a 52-yard field goal where everybody's doing. You can't breathe on a receiver hardly, even though the playoffs gets a little different. So I think it can be boring, but I just don't believe the rules of the game are going to allow for it to be like people getting up and walking out. All right, I'm heading home halftime. I haven't seen all I need to see. There ain't going to be none of that.
But I think the names alone takes care of that, though. You got Mahomes, a quarterback, who's a magician, so anything can happen. And now that you have Saquon on the other side,
Yeah.
I mean, you can go from nothing to a 60, 70-yard run. So, I mean, it gets your attention because of the players and the names.
Yeah.
So,
So-
I think that's
so-
the other side of it too. Yeah.
So speaking of Mahomes, Rich probably wants to chime in on this because somebody told me that Mahomes gets a lot of calls. Does anybody buy into that? That there is some conspiracy that he's getting called?
I don't think it's just Mahomes. I just think the Kansas City organization is getting a lot of calls. I actually anticipate a game, this is what I'll say. If the game is close, the Eagles can cancel winning because the refs will carry that game for the Chiefs, and it'll be on full display. They have to beat them. They have to beat them handily in order to get the victory. I'm pulling for the Eagles, but anybody who's got a set of eyes knows that there's a lot of stuff. I mean, this is the first time in the week leading up that you've had the press ask multiple players how they feel about the refs.
Can I?
Any rebuttal? Any
Can I-
rebuttal to that?
It is, right? So, because I think there's a little bit of a difference between them getting the calls and the conspiracy of it. Like you said, if the game is closed, you said the ref's going to make the calls go Casey's way.
Absolutely.
I don't know how much of it is a purposeful effort, but I will say, and it has been this way all year, and most teams have seen it, is you have to beat the Chiefs.
Absolutely.
You can't go in and tap dance with them and hope that at the end of the game that the ball is going to fall your way, whether that's ref's call, whether it's Pat throws a bad pass, whether it's Worthy drops something. I mean, you have to beat them. And if you think you're good enough to beat them in the last 3 minutes of the game, good luck, especially if you're going to put it in 15 hands. So
Exactly.
I think part of it is, you have to beat him, but I think also that pressure, knowing that at the end of the game, that dude is clutch. And that ain't just felt by the players, that's also felt by the refs because they know the magic he can work. So if there's any benefit of the doubt, he's probably going to get the call. Call that, I don't think it's intentional, but I think it's
just modern day Mahomes rules, right? Right. I'm just saying, somebody else used to get the same call. So hey, you got to beat them. We all know.
I don't
Had to
think
live
it's
with
any different than any other championship caliber team
Tom Brady got the same call.
that has a strong leadership and presence of the game.
Mhm.
Ty, you hit it on the head. Every team that's been in that position has had favorable calls, right? Kansas City, they're competitors. Everybody on their team competes. And Hump is right. If you get them in a 3-point or less game, I'm always pulling for number 15 because that dude goes out and gives everything, every play, sacrifices everything with his body. He's just a competitor, and he refuses to give up.
Well, I'm just with Rich. I'm just saying
to do with the refs.
That the refs that Mahomes ain't the only black and white you got to watch out for.
You're wrong, Ty. You're wrong for that, man. Oh man.
Oh my God.
That's vintage time.
You crazy boy.
You had to have it.
Had to have it.
Just couldn't let it slide.
That's my bad. That's on me.
They had to
Now
have it.
look,
He wouldn't be Ty if he didn't do that.
now look. This is something else I kind of thought about. I'd ask you guys. With gambling being as huge as it is now, how soon before we see an NFL Super Bowl scandal related to gambling?
Good question,
As
Paul.
as we saw this week, it's already hitting
College.
smaller colleges.
Mhm.
North Carolina A&T, the school we went to, is tied up in something like that. A couple other FBS type schools. How soon before we end up hearing there's a scandal, not just in the NFL, but it's the biggest game of the year? And what kind of what kind of tarnish would that put on the league?
I think it was inevitable to happen, right? It was inevitable, right? And I mean, most of us got sons on this, right? And I am like fascinated how much my son and his boys kind of prop bet. You know what I mean? And and I think it's the way the next generation is coming up and learning sports. So I mean, but in the counter to that is like when we were coming up, like there was this very clear wall between betting and like playing, right? But now since everybody bets, I think it's inevitable. So I guess I hadn't really thought about it, P, but it's bound to happen, right? It doesn't have to be a guy throwing a game. It could be like, hey, my over under is 75 yards, and let me fall short or do something to try to get an extra 2 yards to get it. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be. I think it's bound to come in.
That's a good point.
I think you have various degrees of it already, especially in sports where you have the ability to affect, to Ken's point, a prop bet without necessarily hurting your team. So like in the NFL, if you have, prop bet, I have 6 catches. If your quarterback throws you the ball, you got to catch the ball, right? But if you at 5.5, over under 5.5, and you got 5 catches and you need that 6, who's to say you might, get butterfingers, right? Basketball, it's amazing. I watched the parlay the other night to go from, payout of almost 60% to Donovan Mitchell sitting on the bench with 24 points when his over under was 25. He got the last 2 free throws to get to 24 and then took himself out of the game. So that has an impact. And, in baseball, it's definitely, you're talking 160 some odd games. And, are you going to get 2 hits? It's very easy to control that. Everybody goes into a slump. You can turn around and go 3 for 3 the next day. So I think there's probably smaller degrees. Now, it probably doesn't happen with the big names, but there's also the fact of pride in a lot of it, man. A lot of these guys do take pride in what they do on a day-to-day basis. They put in too much work to get there, not to go fluff it away on something that could impact their career and their long-term ability to make the money. So you had to factor that in. But I think there's various degrees of it happening across all levels and all sports right now.
Well, I kind of piggyback on Ken's initial thought with, we've already seen it in baseball and basketball, right? It's destined to happen. Mm-hmm. And to Hump's point, what is that going to look like? I agree the superstars are not going to partake in that. But the everyday Joe, oh yeah. His salary is a little less. Mm-hmm. He has a lot less to lose. He's going to be more apt to take that bone when thrown and try and come up with his money. That's just reality, guys.
Hey, cats are coming at him every day.
Yep. And I think Kim made a good point. Betting now seems, and I'm not a bettor, but it seems like betting is more detailed now, where you can bet on who catches the first ball. And, I never knew it was to that level. So, that type of thing it definitely makes it easier to do now and not even really get caught, to be honest with you.
You can bet on what color tie Tom Brady's going to have on during the broadcast, bro.
Yeah. That's crazy.
How long the Star Spangled Banner is, right?
The over under on that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Who was the cat? Who was the cat that got implicated that was in the NBA? That the over under on turnovers was like real low, and
Scary Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
No, Terry.
Really?
Yeah, Terry Rozier, right?
Yeah. Last week, right?
Yeah. It was a couple weeks. Yeah, last
weeks.
Yeah.
You're already right. So, well, then again, I guess if you don't know how to manage your money, you can get yourself into some quandaries. So anyway,
absolutely.
But there are different degrees of success in all professional sports, right? You've got the guy that is number 53 on the roster, and then you have guys that are getting, 1 million every week. So you look at the various degrees of temptation,
right,
Yeah.
and that plays a part into that, because now everybody wants to live the same lifestyle, but don't have the same means to do so.
right.
And Ray, and to your point, is to hammer that home. Oh, by the way, in the locker room, they ain't shy about it.
Oh
They
no,
talking
Oh no,
about
it's
it.
in your face now.
It's in your face. It's in the
And
bling. It's in the
your
clothing,
woman
it's in the
definitely looking
shoes.
over there.
Yeah.
Oh, dog.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
That's another kind of pressure.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All levels. At all levels.
Oh,
all levels.
shit.
There you
All
go.
levels.
All right, so we're going to leave our picks to the end. So everybody can have their own pick of who's going to win, what they think the point's going to be. But let's move on to the next topic. And this is what I decided I would throw in. Did Lil Wayne and Cash Money get jerked for the halftime show?
absolutely.
Anybody got did they?
Well, look, Paul, you can't come to somebody's backyard and not invite them outside. You can't do that, man.
I like that.
Yeah, like it.
Now, for whatever reason that's gone into that, I'm sure it's petty, right? But Kendrick is hot. He's hot.
Hotter than fish grease.
Cash Money and Lil Wayne haven't put a banger out. When is the last banger they produced?
That's a great point. This ain't a decade ago.
The Carter
Right.
4.
Yeah.
The Carter 4 is the last thing that they put out that was worth
So
watching.
let's not forget the fact that we're a capitalistic society. They want money. They want viewers.
Yeah.
Wrong relevance. Yeah.
Yep. No, I agree. I just don't believe that. I mean, part of having that halftime show is making sure all eyes are glued to the television.
That's right.
And there's been no shortage of coverage around the beef with Drake and K-Dot. And it's going to be all eyes on television to see what he does. If Lil Wayne or Cash Money was on that screen, that would be a good time to take a bathroom break, go make you another drink, check your bets, check. I mean, everything besides watching the show. You kind of have it in the background, but you're going to be watching.
So you said Lil Wayne and Cash Money ain't shit then, right? That's what you said.
No,
I'm not
that's
saying
not
they're
saying
shit.
that.
I'm just saying they ain't gonna catch as many eyes.
And they're not relevant right now.
The level of relevance at this point.
Right.
So let's define get jerked, right? Because if he makes if like Wayne makes a cameo as part of the show, is that okay, Pete?
That's about all.
I'm not saying either way. I'm not saying it's bad either way.
If you're saying he get jerked because he ain't get the show compared to Constable Kenny, no, right? But if he don't like it, it would be right for what if you want to use that term, for him to come out there and
right.
Hey man, Lil Wayne and Cash Money got the Essence Festival. What else they want?
And from what Lil Wayne said earlier, he got his promo. He got something going on tonight. Did you see that? Did you catch that?
It's his city. He's still gonna do something.
Yeah, he still got a Thursday night. Look out for. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he does tonight.
Yeah. Well, I don't think in terms of Lil Wayne, I don't know if it should have just been Lil Wayne. It probably should have been Lil Wayne and Cash Money. I think Lil Wayne put out a statement. He was a little upset about it. I can get it, but I've heard that Lil Wayne doesn't put on a Super Bowl worthy show at this point in his career. His shows are very lacking. So that is probably part of it as well, in my estimation.
Bruh, I don't know how many streams or views the impromptu show that Kendrick put on in LA when he had everybody in LA come out to the show. Every celebrity was on stage. And it was not even near the degree that what you're going to see on Sunday from a planning perspective, from a detailed perspective. I mean, the dude is an icon right now, and that's who you want on that stage. You don't want somebody who's popular and a lot of people know, but Kendrick is an icon, and that's going to keep the eyes glued to the television.
Yeah, and he puts on a amazing shows. I've never seen him not do an outstanding show when he does something. So he's probably the right choice.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's move on to the big topic, really this week that kind of is still in a lot of limelight. That is the NBA trades. Big couple of big trades, crazy trades. So let's start with the Luka to LA trade. I'm not a basketball aficionado, but I know some of you all are. So let you guys chime in.
So I actually will let Kyle Hunt go first. Other than I'll say, like this is the NBA's get back to the NFL. So what else said this? This is the NBA's get back to the NFL because the NBA trade conversation just dwarfed Super Bowl week conversation, right? Yeah. But just like NFL moving in on like Christmas Day, this was the get back, right? For this trade and all the stuff that happened today. Like anything I turned on today was sports related that wasn't talking about the NBA trades. I just found something else that was, right. So it was big time, but I'll let others react to like the actual moves, but it was big time, I thought.
Yeah, we've been on the edge of our seats the last week with the NBA, and I think the last thing I heard now is Steph wants out of Golden State. He doesn't see the value of bringing in Jimmy Butler and Draymond at this point of his career. Man, there's nothing that's gonna make me buy into any of these trades, dude. I looked at Dallas play right before I joined the call, and of course Davis hadn't dressed out, but these moves are I don't see where anybody is benefiting at this point, right? I will say I think Dallas probably made the move to do something immediately. I think the Lakers are looking long term as LeBron is probably going to play maybe one more year. So they're trying to put something in place for his absence when he actually leaves. I get that. I think Dallas also made another move with regards, and Ken and I kind of talked about this the past weekend, with the pace of which they play. I think moving Luka speeds up the team, right? They don't have to go through him anymore. So you get Kyrie to be a legitimate point guard again. You get Davis to get back to his original 4 spot. I think they're a better team without him. I know it sounds crazy, but I really do for the sake of basketball.
In the short term.
I thought about you after the trade because I was like, boy, Clayton is probably happy as hell for Dallas because he do not want to watch Luka play. Boy.
No,
but
Luka's good. But you have to have special people that buy into that type of system to thrive with Luka on the floor. He doesn't play defense at all. So now you got to have some serious help side defense. He stalls the offense with regards to he initiates it, but he holds the ball way too long. People are cutting and looking for angles, and this dude he looks like he's going to shoot it, and then he passes the last second. That's hard basketball, man.
I like what Dwayne Wade said. I have a whole paragraph on this one, but Rich, I'll let you go before I jump in. I got a lot of points on this one.
I was just going to say, I said earlier in the week to Paul that I thought I'd be shocked if LeBron was still a Laker by the end of the week. So we got till tomorrow, right? That's the deadline, right?
Today.
It was today.
5 o'clock today.
Yeah, I'm shocked that they now have 2 ball dominant cats on the squad. But I do believe, as you all just said, that because LeBron is at the end of his career. They are trying to put something in place. But I found it odd that the owner didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
For the Mavs?
Owner. And then the other piece was, I think if you all are following this stuff with LeBron and Diddy, I also think that this is, because they don't know whether he going to be out, whether he about to be embroiled in some stuff too. I mean, y'all shut.
Yeah, Rich, I didn't even thought about that one, bro. You went deep on that one.
With LeBron and Diddy,
I think that counts as two conspiracies. That's two conspiracies.
Rich.
Hey, listen.
Hey, man. Hey, there's a lot of things I don't like about LeBron, but his image, he's a squeaky clean dude, man. He's a good dude. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey, Rich said people clutching more than pearls out here.
Was that
like pearls?
Tom, what's your thoughts?
I said, but the one thing that I saw Dwayne Wade today, and I agree with what he said. He said that this decision was made by some billionaires. He said, you look what's going on, how the players were taking over the league, how the ratings are falling. He said to him, he said, believe me, this was a billionaire decision, not a millionaire decision. And they got together to say, okay, the game is going international. They're trying to expand. Who better than to put Luka on one of the premier team in LA for the next 10 years to keep the ratings there. He said this one about the players. The players, especially look at Butler and what he's been doing. The players took over, has been taken over, and now this is their way of saying we got to do something, especially with the ratings falling. And to get a Euro player like that in one of the biggest markets, he said this was a billionaire decision, not a million. And I think it's something to that.
There's definitely something to it. I think part of it is in the DNA of the Lakers. The Lakers have always tried to make sure they had a top name on that team. And it started with, rest in peace, Jerry Buss. But when he brought Magic to the squad, it was about that. But even before him, it was Wilt. It was, Jerry West. They always have a big name out there. So the trade fits from a standpoint of LeBron retiring until he's got 2 more years on his contract. He'll probably play for 2 more years. He'll at least play until Bronny's at least a solid figure on the squad. And now you got that big name that's still there, and you can try to build a team around Luka. There's 2 years to do it. It's not a move that trade does not make the Lakers a contender this year. Ironically, Dallas is viewing the trade to get Anthony Davis makes them a contender for this year. If they don't make it to the Western Finals, that was a bad trade for them, and that's their expectation around that trade. You got Davis bringing defense and offense to the squad. He's able to play 4. They got 2 dudes who can play the 5, and you got Kyrie on the ball, and you still got some other perimeter players, some others who will make them a legitimate team. They ain't touching Oklahoma City, in my opinion, but they could get there in the finals with them. The Butler trade, the Warriors, is garbage. Straight Lascura. Absolutely terrible. And the stuff that Jimmy Butler's been doing over the last couple of 3 weeks or a month or however long it's been is really starting to swing a lot of power back to the owners that they were losing because the players had those antics are going to make the negotiations from the Player Association way harder the next time it comes up for discussion. He's acting an ass, and he's making it easier for them to say, you know what? Get these guaranteed contracts. Garnett was talking about it earlier this week. Garnett was pissed.
I saw that.
He was pissed. He was like, I can't even use the language. KG get down with it. And it's really going to turn the tables. But to add to Ty's point, they want to get back to a revenue profitable producing league. And what better way to put that one of those big names on a big name squad, build a plan to transition from LeBron to him. And oh, by the way, hopefully some of LeBron's work ethic rubs off on Luka, because I watched them play the Clippers the other night, and that game was moving so fast. I know Luka's jaw was dropping. There's no way he could keep up. There's no way he could keep up with it. That game was moving so fast. Luka would have been 3 trips down the court and like calling for a timeout, trying to catch his breath. So I don't think it's going to work. I think to Rich's point, you got 2 ball pounders right there. There's a reason why Luka likes to pound the ball like that because he's out of shape and he needs to slow the game down.
Yeah, and he so I'll leave the political side of the game for you guys, because I think there's a lot of merit to what you say. I especially believe the point around owners taking back control of the league. I think the power dynamic is switching, including in the way they structured the CBA, right? Because there were structural reasons why the trades happened that did happen, right? With the second apron, which without getting too much into it, but it restricts teams over a certain salary cap can only deal with teams who are in similar situations. And it has to be a player for player type swap, which is why Jimmy kind of ended up in Golden State, which was still stupid because I can't believe Joe Latham first of all, took him and then gave him 2 years on top of it. I just don't get it, right? That was stupid. The second thing I'll say is the dynamic that is Luka. I think the only place someone said it, I was watching today, said it best. Dallas knew they couldn't change Luka. The Lakers think they can because of LeBron and because it's LA, right? Because if you watch Luka, right, and KJ and I have gone back and forth for years over, right? And that I was like, he does all the things that Quake talked about, all the kind of stuff, and then I just look at his body and like that dude can't keep up with me in the gym, and I'm 50. You know what I mean? Come on.
Dude, somebody said that Luka looks like the dude you go to the Y and play a good pickup game with. He be scoring, he light you up, but then right the game he go smoke a cigarette and chug a beer. Maybe like I bet he used to be good back in the day. I bet he used to be the best.
And that's true.
That's what Luka looked like.
It's been that way since 13, 14, whatever it was, because he was a pro. He's been a pro for like 10, 11 years, although he's only 25. So like Dallas and Cuban gave him the keys when Cuban was majority. So he wasn't going to change in Dallas. And they got tired of it because they thought this year was a big playoff run. And he's been out all season with the same injury he's had 3 years in a row now. And he's 20 pounds overweight when the season started, right? So they just got out of the Luka business. In LA, because they always think they can make stars work, got in it. The last point is the fascinating dynamic is these stars coming together to try to take because they don't think they can beat these young teams on the squads they were on, right? OKC, Houston, these teams that built using kind of the draft and more kind of structure that I think the owners all want, me as a fan wants. I think it's got like, that's why KD acting like a bitch with this. So that's why KD acting the way he is, because he know Phoenix is in trouble, but he wants to direct the situation he's in because they can't beat OKC. They ain't going to be able to beat Houston much longer. They can't beat Memphis, right? These young teams that are way under the cap. Minnesota, they're way under the cap. They much better put together, and they are if you look at the top half of the Western Conference, those teams are young and they are here to stay, and they don't have to worry about the prima donnas that are Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yep.
I was just going to say that it's also interesting how LeBron, for whatever it's worth, has snaked his way around the league, getting rid of players that he didn't want, and building teams that he wanted for a large part of his career. And for him to not know anything about it after he made the Lakers take his son, who's really not that good, I also think that it was a message from Bus and Pelinka to say, the sun is setting on your career, bro. You don't run this no more.
Yeah.
We run this. So it does tie into the same where you guys were talking about them trying to regain control of the game, take it out of the power of the player. But I really think this is like LeBron's turn to see you don't run this no more, bro. I really do. I mean, they say he had no idea, right?
That's what they said.
That's what they said. They said a lot of folks didn't know. I mean,
that's what they said.
You hear Mark Cuban say he didn't know, which now that he in the mix as much as he was.
I just can't see him being who could have come there. I just can't. So that's why I also don't think that he knew.
Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
A lot of side topics to that. I've got some other questions just about the league in general going forward, but we're going to move forward off of sports. Let's get to our hot topic in politics, which was defunding USAID. Looks like Trump allowed Elon to go in and do whatever he wanted to do. So where do we stand on this, guys? What are your thoughts?
I voted
Anybody?
for it.
I think to understand or to understand and have a position on the defunding, you have to really thoroughly understand the reasons why it exists and the reasons why less than 1%, and which never is put out there, but less than 1% of the overall government budget goes towards this. And I've been on the record for years of saying I've been to places, I've seen where the aid has been helpful. I've also been in places and seen where it's been corrupt and it's been abused, and the funds not reaching the folks that it should be reaching. To do this with a plan would land softer than just saying I'm pulling the funding because I want to pull that lever because I can. And I think that's the biggest angst that happens when you make these type of moves. If there's a plan behind it that says $66 billion that is spent to U.S. aid is now going to go to X, Y, Z in the United States, and it's going to close the gap on, A, B, and C, that's a different conversation just to say, I'm going to pull $66 billion and where is it going? And what is it going to be used for? Is it going to be make people richer, or is it going to be made to help more folks? I think that's the biggest angst that I have around it. I also recognize the political influence that this type of aid provides, specifically, in particular in the third world countries, because there are other countries, China, Russia, North Korea, who are trying to buy that influence. And this $66 billion every year also goes towards making sure that we have an influence in countries that serve to promote what is needed from the USA standpoint. So again, with a plan on the backside, it's probably easy to swallow, but just to pull the lever and say, this is going to be defunded, and without understanding the ramifications of it, I got a big problem with it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, but you said you voted for this, Rich. What's the plus side for you?
Well, I mean, fraud, corruption, Hump hit on it. So he sees why people would be for it. I mean, I put together a little list of different things. It was $4 million to Ben Stiller, $5 million to Sean Penn, $8 million to Orlando Bloom, $20 million to Angelina Jolie. And it was all to make Zelensky amenable to the public, the American public. Remember how we had folks putting on their social media the little Ukrainian flag? Huh? Y'all remember that?
Yeah. With Trump University on there?
Say that again.
Trump University on there?
I can't.
Go with. So Rich, what was that total number you read off? What's that?
I'm not finished.
He ain't finished. We got the right person to find it, though.
Look, $7.9 million to teach Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gender language. $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. The World Economic Forum that can't stand anything about freedom in the United States. $52 million so that they can continue their little dystopian narratives and social engineering for elitists. $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala.
Did you say elitist?
So Rich,
y'all ain't pissed. Y'all ain't pissed.
So Rich,
Y'all ain't pissed. Y'all ain't pissed.
If we talk about the cons, what are the pros?
To Quake's point, because my question was, if you add that number up, the number that you would call fraudulent, even if I chalk it up to you and double it, how much of that is fraud in the grand scheme? And does that mean, let's say it's 90%? Was it 80%? What number you want to use?
I really don't know what the total is. My argument is, if you're gonna,
you're blinking out there, Rich. We're not hearing you. He was pouring a drink. He was pouring a drink while I was talking. There you go.
Money, and it's sitting, and you know that there's an issue. Why wouldn't you stop and audit yourselves? Why wouldn't you stop and look at what's going on before you reset it?
So does the term throwing out the baby with the bathwater mean anything though, Rich?
Without tax dollars going toward anything and everything.
Because that's a great question, Rich. That's a great question. But Rich, why didn't they audit? Why didn't they just do an audit?
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. They took an axe to where they needed to scalp it. Seems like.
If you listen to the stories that were going on, they were asking for documentation and information, and them jokers was hiding it. They weren't even willing to give the information.
Oh, that sounds familiar too with some other papers. Yeah, maybe they need to go to Mar-a-Lago and find some. Go to Mar-a-Lago and find some of them documents.
Hey, can't nobody understand nothing y'all saying because everybody talking at the same time.
No, I said they need to go to Mar-a-Lago and find some.
You heard Mar-a-Lago.
Sound familiar?
Nah, it's a consistent thing with crooks. It's a consistent thing with crooks, right? So, but my term of throwing the baby out with the bathwater is what's happening here, because there are legit avenues that money helps, and they are positive, and we just cut those faucets off because of a percentage. What we don't know what the percentage is, because a percentage is thought to be fraudulent. Right. So to everyone's point, if you're taking an audit and you can identify the fraudulent ones and you stop funding the fraudulent ones, but you are able to continue to fund the causes that are necessary in order for not just aiding the world, but from a protection across the world for people who are living in those parts of the world, then then you're talking something, right? But it's shock and awe, man. And everything that is shock and awe, you have to take a look and say, what are they doing with the other hand? Because it's not a calculated way of addressing an issue, if it is an issue. And Rich, I'm not going to disagree and say that it's not an issue. There's probably, as with most organizations around the world, there's probably some fraudulent levels in there. What percentage we don't know. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
$300 million a month to an NGO that was resettling illegal immigrants. Come on, man.
But we're not
serious.
We're not saying that changes don't need to be made. There's some corruption in everything.
Okay, listen.
But you don't cut everything to get it. Yeah. Look, I'm saying there's ways to do it.
So Rich,
they should have just let it keep going.
Rich,
but he decided
we didn't say let it keep going. We said,
Rich,
so why can't you
let me ask you this: where's the 66? Where's the 66 billion going?
Yeah.
Where's the total budget that they just pulled? Where's it going to go?
What is it?
You gave us
because it no longer exists, right? So that's 66 billion back into the budget. Where is it going to go?
I don't know.
You gave us 400 or 500 million out of 66 billion.
66
you
billion.
went on this rant over less than 1%. It sounds ridiculous when you guys do this because you cherry pick every bad story and kind of prop your intellect on it and miss the obvious stuff.
Whoa, hold on.
500 million out of 66 billion. Not even a rounding error, bruh. And so it just sounds ridiculous that you get animated and focus on the fraud that we wouldn't necessarily disagree probably happens. some of it discretionary are decisions that were made that you would make differently, and maybe I would too. But you cut the whole thing and just ignore that there are people hurting because some $20 million went to Angelina Jolie out of and the other $65.5 billion shouldn't go to anybody. That's ridiculous logic.
Even if you come up with $1 billion, it's still you got 65 billion that you got to talk about. It doesn't make sense.
I think they've made it very clear that once they get to the bottom of the corruption, they're gonna restart and give it back.
And who's getting to the bottom of it? That's the funny part.
What part?
Hold on. I'm being told how crazy I am for looking at these millionaire actors being paid to push a narrative that is contrary and anti-US. Why are we involved in that in Ukraine? Y'all don't feel like that's a bad thing?
How much was spent totally on Ukraine from USAID? How much? I don't know. Nobody knows. That's not a number that's being shared. That's not a number that's being shared. They're sharing a narrative. They're not sharing a number because they want to push the narrative and not the impact that it's having. It's a minimum amount. It's a minimum.
And there's something humanitarian.
So unfair. You have to be an American in order to audit.
You just said it. I'm just saying, y'all only push that whole American thing when it fits. It's just amazing how you can pick and choose. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
You got to be an American to see that money is going to places it shouldn't be.
We know that. That's in any organization, you're going to have some corruption going on. And we're saying get to the bottom of it. We're agreeing with you.
Y'all like, don't do nothing. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
We didn't say that. Nobody said that. We said that's what you're saying. Deal with that part. That's bad. That's all we're saying.
I think Ken hit it with regards to there should have been an audit on the front end, Rich, versus dismantling the entire USAID.
And that's figured out later.
Right?
Disrupting people's lives.
So the other part about USAID is these are the same people that go in and distribute, anti-vaccines for AIDS. There's so many different things that it does, right? So we talked about the negatives. When you have these underdeveloped third world countries that are fighting every single day for basic needs, come on, Rich. This is the biggest problem I have with Republicans, dude. They act as if everybody's been given the same opportunities and people have squandered their opportunities, right? Everybody hasn't been given that. So I'm not sure where that is missed with regards to having humanitarian aid. That's necessary, dude. Shit is necessary here.
Exactly.
You gotta go there. It's necessary here.
It's ironic that you said humanitarian aid. It's called USAID or USAID, where it actually should be. You said it was for humanitarian purposes. You said it was for the good of this, but when we pull back the cover, the roaches start scattering because the money that was intended for good was going to all these different things. We haven't gotten the full audit yet. Y'all keep talking about the numbers. I just rolled off a few of them. We don't know.
Again, when you gonna roll off the good at it? 1%. We just saying tell the whole story. Where's the good at? You keep rolling off the stuff that was bad and corrupt. Can you please share some information on the other side? The good that is done, but let's skip all the good. All we're gonna concentrate on again is that less than 1 billion, and forget the other 65 billion that may have done good. But let's not talk about that. We're gonna find the worst part of it, and we're gonna concentrate on that and use that to justify everything. If you're gonna tell a story, then tell the whole story. Just gonna concentrate on the worst of everything, and that's everything. Especially when we got the people in charge who's doing the investigating. Because it's mighty funny how you can skip over some negative and some corruption on one side, and then but all of a sudden you hold it in thou when it comes to other folks and other planes. That's the thing that gets me.
I think that we are going to see a lot of stuff laid bare and a lot of suppositions about who he is, what he's done, and just how illegal he is. and how corrupt he is, we're gonna see a lot of stuff get laid bare, in my opinion. That
Who is he? I'm missing he. Who is he?
I'm talking about Trump now. I'm talking about Trump now.
Well, I guess if you get rid of everybody and replace with everybody who's going to agree with you, yeah,
I
we
think the
might see
34
something.
felonies have said enough.
It's pretty easy to do once you get rid of everybody that's impartial. Yeah, I agree with you too. Yeah,
All
you
of
paint your own painting, you're gonna get what you want to see.
I mean,
I agree.
Rich, one of the reasons this pisses me off is because this week I've had 3 clients, talk about, the pulling of their funding due to the DEI kind of, war and the approach they've gotten from their supporters who are part of the federal government or near to it. And they just really can't go forward with one in particular, can't go forward with a big initiative that they had planned for. And in this day and age, people think about DEI and they say it's such a bad thing. Well, what if I told you this company, this not-for-profit, is one that specializes in people with disabilities? And what they really were trying to do was merge with other not-for-profits who deal in disabilities and try to find ways to get those folks jobs and better lives and better work experiences so that they could have meaningful lives too. But now they can't do it because Tesla, SpaceX genius dumbass has gone through and just pulled funding and just completely disrupted mission-based organizations with good people trying to do good work. And oh, by the way, we ain't even whining because they're not Black. We're whining because they got neurological conditions or physical ailments, or they were just handicapped at birth. And so this is ridiculous what you all kind of push in your kind of continual persecution of DEI for all these stories that you tend to make up, very similar to the ones you made up a moment ago. And that's why these things get annoying to me, because I know people who really go through this, right? And they live day to day on this, and all of a sudden now their money's pulled, and because somebody didn't do an audit, they just felt like it was the right thing to pull. That's stupid, dude.
The problem is the folks who are making the decisions don't know anybody that it's going to be affecting.
That's right.
Nor do they care, right? And that's probably the biggest issue with any. Again, there's from my perspective, there will never be an argument if there's a plan around an action, and the plan doesn't even have to be 100% sound. It can be 50 to 60. It could be 60 to 70% baked, with a lot of stuff to figure out, with some things to figure out. But the actions that are being taken without a plan on the backside that is being shared and it's being communicated, that are making folks understand why those actions are taking place.
That you just said, because you don't know whether there's a plan it hadn't been communicated.
So
there hadn't been communicated.
Why wouldn't you communicate?
Why would it not be communicated?
Listen, I'm not saying that that's a good look that they didn't or haven't, but you're basing it on what you know, that there isn't a plan. But I'm sure there's some form of plan in place.
Yeah, just like the affordable health care plan that he had submitted for 8 years. We're still waiting, right?
Yeah.
I have concepts. We know plan. We have concepts.
Elon Musk has a plan. He's doing the same thing here that he did at Twitter, where he was dealing with 4,000, 5,000 employees, but now he's dealing with the real people's lives in different countries in need of help all over the world. It ain't the same.
Because Rich, one thing you have to admit though, Trump talks a lot, Elon Musk talks a lot, but they don't have a lot of details. They don't give you any details. They say it, they make it up on the fly, and then they figure out it'll work in the end. That's kind of
And that's because we got so many details under Biden, right? Biden and
I'm
Kamala,
talking about, but we're talking about.
they just told us so much. The two of them were
but we're
eloquent.
talking about the
They
guy
gave
that
us
won the election, though,
everything
huh?
we
I mean,
needed to
Rich,
know on
Hey,
but Rich,
everything, right?
we're talking
So
about the guy that won the election.
get specific ones. What did Biden them pull? So you keep talking about what they didn't do. Just like last week talking about what the vice president did, Kamala compared to other ones. You can't tell me what one thing that any vice president has done. Now you're talking about this. So give me specifics on what you want to know that Biden did. Don't come up with a plan and throw stuff out there. You always throw what Biden did. Give us some specifics that you're curious about for once. Okay?
What did you
So when
say?
did he do something to affect the masses like this? That's going to affect aid. Give me something.
Well, it affected the election, the
Oh my
2020.
goodness. All right. We can move on. Let's move on, please. Please.
But Ty,
Oh,
Put that right up there with that peaceful protest. Put that right up there with that peaceful protest we had. You're right. You're right.
I got a ton
They said a peaceful protest.
Wow.
I got a ton
Wow.
folks like Rich that I love to do this with.
Amazing.
One of their number one tactics is deflection. And the whataboutism deflection is what he pulled on you there. We're not going for that. Like
exactly.
If we want to talk about Biden, we need to ask producer Paul to put a line item into what's next and come back to Biden. Right now, we're talking about the war on DEI that it says on the bottom. So, Rich, that ain't gonna work. The deflection of sending us back to a year ago or 3 years ago.
It's understandable because some people. Because some leaders still talks about Obama and Hillary like they're still in office. So it's not surprising. That's what they do. That's what they do. Deflect and keep moving.
Fair enough. Let me just say this, Paul, and then you can
continue.
As I feel the compassion in what Ken has said in regards to DEI and how it's affected people. And it's unfortunate. Whenever there are broad sweeping changes, there's always situations that fall by the wayside. Always. I don't care what it is. There were, when the Affordable Care Act came out, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. And people lost their doctors. Okay. So there are sweeping changes that occur for the overall good that are not always what people like. So I get what you're saying. And I do hope that after they get through cutting the fat, and they get to the bottom of the proper money, that it does get back to the proper hands. But when I sit and look at money going to things that undermines what we call the United States is united for a reason. It's supposed to be united. I mean, you're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas. We're a sworn enemy for them. Why would you do that? And why is that not? We 2 months out from paying taxes. Mm-hmm. I get pissed every year when I got to sit there and pay more money. I get pissed. And I'm sitting here talking to fellas. I know all y'all doing super well, but I like my money because I know I work hard for it. Yeah. But I don't believe in just letting it go full tilt and then be no checks and balances. That's what I voted for.
What do you lack in your life, Rich? I'm gonna make this real simple. What do you lack?
That's a broad question.
No. Do you have the basic necessities of life?
Sure.
Okay.
There are people who don't.
So there are a whole lot of people that don't.
Yep. I get that. And like I said,
but you shouldn't be responsible for that, right?
Hey, it'll be
you shouldn't be responsible for that, right?
I didn't say that.
That's what part of those taxes go.
But you're crying about the spilled milk, dude. You still got milk.
Wow.
Let's make this thing simple, Rick.
This is an example how cats be so ride or die with the Democrat Party that they can't even see. Like, you guys are okaying these things that are negative. You're basically
we're not okaying it. We just said they need to be looked at and dealt with. That's not okaying it. That's just saying.
But y'all don't like the way it's being dealt with.
I got another flag. I think I'm a pretty good communicator and say this stuff's on my mind, but that's why I get pissed off when you put words in my mouth. I did not say it was okay. I don't think any of the brothers said it was okay. We actually said there's a better way of going about it, and it certainly shouldn't be done to hurting people to the extent they're doing. Right.
And by the way, I'm a registered independent, by the way. So I can't fall into a Democrat or Republican. I'm a registered independent, and I think freely, and I like rational thinking, and I like sound plans that will sway me one way or the other. So please don't put me into a box on that.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Can I touch on something you said though? Because I felt your humanity there for a minute, right? And so I want to play on it just a little bit. Right? I just want to ask a question, right? Because there's have you ever spent any time with anyone who like qualifies in some of these DEI situations that really bug you? For example, last week we talked about the transgender thing. You ever talked to a transgender person?
No.
Yeah. Which makes it a whole lot easier. Which makes it a whole lot easier to minimize kind of their rights, their humanity, and why it would be important to sometimes try to bridge the gap between the world they live in and the world they often get ostracized from. Right. And so all part of the reason that you know I have become kind of, passionate about this is because I've been paid to try to go talk to folks and see what it was like to have a job one day, leave as Jack on Friday and come back on Monday as Sally and try to still do a good job when people are snickering at you and all those kind of things. And so, and before I got that exposure, I probably felt in many ways a lot like most people, right? But when you listen to some of those people's experiences, right? When you have people that whose kid has to transition, and that kid had a whole lot of issues as a little boy, and now as a little girl, and if they even thought about playing sports, the families around them would go crazy for saying no. To actually be that parent, to be that kid, is a very lonely place. And sometimes I wonder how we miss the humanity of the other side because we're so grounded in our own persona and thoughts about it, such that we got to forget that they are humans too.
I think across the board, it's human nature. I think until it affects you, it's hard to have empathy for a lot of folks. Yep. It just really is. Until it affects you or somebody you know. Hey, it's when it's somebody else is okay, but when it's knocks at your door, I think people respond to it differently, and then that's
my empathy is that those kids need psychiatric assistance. I think it's a spiritual and psychiatric issue. I mean, so you're telling me for the last 20 some odd years where they are now changing the sex of little kids. Before those 20 years, it really ain't been 20. The last 10 years is where they've been on the hard push. Mm-hmm. So all those years before that, where parents parented and said, no, John, you're a boy. All right. You're going to wear boy clothes. You're not going to be doing this. So that was wrong. Now, all of a sudden, the stuff that we got going on, the scripture says? The scripture says that the author of confusion is Satan. Mm-hmm. We as a society have fallen so much that I believe there will be a time where God is going to shake this world so much that you'll be hard pressed to find anybody who will say that there are more than two genders. We're in a crazy time. This is absurd. It's foolishness.
God also tells you to love everybody.
2,000 years settled science, where a man goes into the restroom for men and a woman goes in the restroom for women. We all of a sudden think we are so enlightened and so wise. This is trash. It's trash. I feel sorry for the kids who don't have good people in life to direct them.
Are they still people? Are they still human? Do they still race, or are they 3/5 of a man?
Absolutely. Or are they lose that part, right? I get people. It's no different. It's no different in this form right here, right? we all have a matter of opinion based off what we think, what we feel, what we've been educated, and what we've been encountered with from our individual experiences, right? It's the same thing, Rich. I don't believe that, and I had this conversation about a week ago with a family member. I don't believe that people wake up and automatically want to be another gender. It's in them. Some people choose. Some people are born with it.
But it's
Well, how
still a
about
person.
these stories where they show the parent and they'll be interviewing the little boy, and the little boy says he wants to be a girl, and they show the mama in the background, and she mouthing the words she done practiced with his ass. I mean,
she practiced with him.
I just
she
don't
practiced his responses.
Mhm.
So
What
that
I
they
would
could
do-
think
So what should be done in that case, Rich?
Listen,
What's happening?
let me ask you this. So a
What should be done? Hold
5-year-old
on. Before we move on to the next, what should happen in that situation when the mom is coaching up and
Because what that says to me,
she's assuring,
embrace what this kid is doing,
reassuring them that what they're doing is they're supported.
That's right.
What should they be doing instead?
That's child abuse. That's child abuse. Do you wait? Do you let a 5-year-old eat chocolate cake before they go to bed?
I don't, but it should be the right of that family to do their own thing,
But
right?
no, wait.
The point is coming down to rights, right?
Again, the kid cried for it. He really wants it. He really knows that he wants it. So wouldn't you be supporting him by giving him that piece of cake?
Okay, maybe you didn't hear me the first time. What I said was maybe I wouldn't give it to my kid, but I don't think it's right for me or you to tell that parent not to do it, right?
Freedom of choice.
And like we're just at one point, and I don't think most of us on here grew up with a very similar Christian faith that you have, Rich. But I also believe in civil rights and free will, right? And so I don't understand why it moves you so much that you're so energized with the consternation, if not hatred, that it happens, instead of seeing what I see is humans trying to kind of live their life for the rights and will that they have. I don't understand why it bugs you so much.
Because there's a life after this one, and as parents, we're to train up a child in the way they should go. And you got D-Wade. You got D-Wade, and he ready to cut his son's penis off for an agenda. It's crazy.
See, Rich, I don't think you get. See, I agree. It's not for me, and I wouldn't do that. Hold the way. I agree with you. I think there should be an age limit if you're going to do it. They're too young, but it's not. But so I'm with you, and even but like we said, the Bible is free will. So I agree with you, but you can't pick and choose issues because there's no sin or whatever that's better than another.
Well,
we can't sit here and do this boxing. We can't sit here and judge that's worse than this. Because there's some things that we do. Bro, that's what I'm saying. I got to worry about. I got my own issues and family stuff. So I'm not saying I agree with what they're doing, but it's not my business. It's not affecting me. I can't control them. That's not my day to day. I got to take care of my house.
It affects those children. There's a piece in me where I care enough about people who are being misled down a path of no return.
So what about this aid?
How do you control that?
You care about people. What about this aid we just talked about?
How do you control that?
You can't pick and choose. Now all of a sudden you care about the people.
I said they're gonna reset it, bro.
Now they gotta reset it. So how long that's gonna take? What about in the meantime?
I don't know.
But you more worried about resetting that penis.
I'm saying.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh man. So move on. We will revisit this at some point. This is only going to be a 2-minute, quick 2-minute question. If we defund or get rid of the Department of Education, how do you states gonna make up for that money? Where's the makeup money going?
So P, I'm the chair of a board of a public charter school in DC, and yeah, we are scared to death about this. We're scared to death about it because one, we're a school that's diverse by design, right, to help the poor kids in DC. So between the DEI movement and now the conversation around defunding Department of Education, we know we can't raise enough money for the 1,200 kids across 4 schools in the 2 campuses that we run. So this is a very, very real thing. And to answer your question, I don't know how we'll educate these kids.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wake up call, because a lot of people don't realize that even though the Department of Education only supplies, like for North Carolina, about 10% of our budget, a lot of communities get money that don't realize that they get money. Like they think that just because they're a middle class neighborhood, they don't get money from was it Title IX? They get money. Some schools get money from that are in really nice neighborhoods, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
Do we all know how much money A&T gets from the federal government per student? It's something like $2,000 per student, right? So they cut this. If they cut this budget, I don't know where the 14,000 students in A&T, will get that support from, right? It just, and that's we know North Carolina as a state has and will probably underfund it too, but yeah. So
Ken,
yeah,
got a question for you. Have you guys reached out to the administration, tried to get a hold of anybody to find out how it might affect you guys?
I'm not sure. I think for the most part, the city is waiting to see what it all means, right? If you know a little bit about DC politics, you know that the mayor and President Trump, got into they had a really bad falling out during his first term. That when she named the street right in front of the White House, Black Lives Matter Boulevard, right? And so they've had a really rocky relationship. So I think right now everybody's trying to keep their head low and hope that cutting the Department of Education at large and then specifically in the district just doesn't happen.
Surely it was more than just the BLM Boulevard, but I'll give you.
It's long standing that the federal government in DC for years are always head to head. So anytime that it can affect, it's tough to go and have that conversation, even down to police forces. But one thing I'll add on, and I saw an article about rural town in Kentucky. I think it was Kentucky, some country state, but it was come on, don't lie. Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, Tennessee. Let's name it.
You know exactly what you're talking about.
But shit, North Carolina may fall in some parts, but it was a small town, and it was elderly white lady who had been running the school district for like 30 years. And they were talking about the impact that this would have. And they were talking about, the programs that they would have to cut. They were talking about what they fund themselves today versus if this federal fund is taken away. And the impact it's going to have on the kids' education. And it's just mind-boggling because everyone thinks about the federal programs and the schools that are funded, the universities that are funded, and the minimum amount of school districts that are funded that they don't really need it. But in some cases, it's life or death for some of these kids. So again, when you start looking at a bigger plan of what you're going to do, if that's communicated, it's a different perspective. Without it, you start looking at, well, why would someone do this? Or why would a government do this? And you start looking at how do you start to gain control of a people? That's when you start to get these narratives and these freaking deep thoughts and these conspiracy theories, because there's not a plan that says, here's what we're going to do, and you can't hold people accountable for it. So I think if it happens, it's going to have a huge impact. It's going to have an impact that goes beyond what people are normalized or used to being able to deal with. It will have an impact on the quality of education, more impact than we're already having already. And it's definitely going to have an impact on the future of our competitive on a global basis. We're pulling funding, and again, I hate to bring up the same names, but China, Russia, these places are funding. They're trying to figure, well, not Russia, but China's definitely funding a way to make sure they can become a global power. And part of that is through education. So in a situation where they're figuring out ways to increase their education, we're figuring out a way to decrease ours. That doesn't compute with me. Again, a plan. What's the plan? What's the intent there? And I don't see it.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah, I don't have anything for you on that. It's
Rich, I don't want you to ever feel like you got to defend the entire actions of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
The only thing I ever try to pull to anyone is logic behind it, right? So, I mean, you got your perspective and you got your sources of information, and then you're an intelligent Black man, and you've taken that into and you internalize it, and what comes out is where you feel. I ain't never gonna hold that against you, bro.
Right.
But I will continue to try to show the other side of that, the reasonable side of it, that from my perspective, and maybe we meet in the middle, or maybe we don't. But you know, I please don't feel like you gotta be the representative of the entire Republican Party on this call.
But talk to your boy, Rich. Get on the hotline. Talk to his ass. Talk to him.
Who's your boy?
The hotline.
Another
Ricky.
Nah,
Ricky. 5 in the morning.
So we're gonna jump into pop culture just real quick here. A couple topics. So Beyonce got her first Grammy.
That was her first one?
Let me see if I can show.
No.
First
Grammy album of the year.
Grammy for album of the year Grammy. Correct. But you know, I just wanted to put Beyonce on the screen just so we can see Beyonce. I know.
Anytime. There you go.
I prefer to see Kelly.
This is already.
I know. That's why I said it. But let's go to and let me just close this out for a minute. Perfect. Another one here because I was talking to Kid recently, and he was watching the Diddy documentary. Is Diddy gonna get life? What's he going? I know Rich got some strong feelings on this too.
Diddy gonna get life, dude.
He's gonna get life.
Diddy gonna get life, man.
Yes.
I tried to watch the documentary, man, but about the first couple episodes, I was like, dog, I knew all this stuff. I don't even know why people are so shocked. It's entertainment, man. I know how entertaining people are. Man. It's like, dog.
What's his
first part? Huh?
What's his charges?
It's sex trafficking,
balls of baby oil,
sex trafficking,
racketeering,
distributing
baby oil,
narcotics to a minor. He got a bunch
baby oil possession.
If you watch the 5 episodes, whatever it was, the first few episodes were to your point, P. They were just like rehashing,
right?
Because it starts from the beginning, right? And like the thing that I probably heard but long since forgot is the incident he had at City College, where essentially he threw a party, pubbed the party, oversold, and 9 people ended up getting killed, right? To me, I would have almost been like, okay, why is that relevant? But I think if I flip around from the storyteller's point, they were saying, hey, that he wasn't a bad guy. He just he got progressively worse, right? And there was some pretty bad. There's some pretty bad stories in there, right? So like he I think he's done. I think he's certainly locked up. He's not R. Kelly, right? When you look at all the stuff that R. Kelly people came out and said and witnesses from that perspective, but he's done.
But here's the thing: these people are all complicit, in my opinion. People that are coming forward now, they say, "Well, they thought they were going to get this and that." Everybody thought they were. Nobody had any nuts to stand up and say, "Look, this is wrong."
Don't say that.
I'm just like, dog. He beat Cassie's ass in that hotel. Like he laid her out.
He killed Kim.
I'm like, he killed who?
He had Kim killed. Kim Porter.
That's what people. Yeah, that's what people.
That's what a lot of folks are saying.
That's what they're saying.
People, hey, I'm sure he messed with some killers too.
Hey,
Ain't nobody that would stand up and say, "Look, man, eventually, you just gonna do something that's not gonna sit right with me, so I'm gonna get at you." I just don't understand how people just let that
the way
slide.
the way the story was told is he was a bit of a predator in that way. Like some of the people that he got, from some of the young ladies to even his assistants, were like people who worshipped him. They were young. I mean, he was like literally he was in his 40s and now 50s, and these people who were working for him, and some of these people that kind of fell into his world were in their 20s, starstruck.
Right.
Power.
So,
The power.
Y'all seen American Gangster, right?
Yes. Frankie.
So everybody aware of that scene where Denzel shoots the dude in the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And y'all know that's supposed to be P. Diddy's daddy.
Who got shot?
I did not know that. They referenced it, that his dad was Frank Lucas type thing.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
So I mean, he had a rough life, right? And not to justify some of the stuff, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We got to look back at the managers that taught him what to do. Didn't both of them get it on with him? Andre Harrell? Who was it?
Andre was his
Andre Harrell worked for, but I found it interesting that Harrell wasn't in the documentary in any way, right? This series, so it's interesting. But the only thing I was saying,
he died, right? Andre died.
Why? Okay, man, that's why. Sorry.
Did we kill him too?
Did he kill him too? One thing I will say though, Rich, is it didn't come across. I didn't like the way they portrayed his mom, like was a hard ass, right? I think a lot of us had moms who were hard ass, right? That like his mom took no shit, and she held him accountable for stuff. So to say he might have had some mommy issues and those kind of things, but it wasn't like he lived like some really neglected out in the streets kid.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's not the way it was portrayed. It portrayed his mom didn't let him get away with shit though.
Okay.
What the hell? All right, so we got two more little segments here. What's on your mind? This is our 1 or 2 minute segment for each person to kind of, get something off their chest or highlight something that they want to highlight. So we'll start with Quake. Why don't you go ahead and go first, Quake? You got something?
I don't really have anything on my mind. I enjoy the dialogue and discussion, man. I think this has a place in society where people can get perspective and really chime in to what they think and feel about all these topics, Paul. So it's really a thank you and Ken for coming up with this idea to host something like this. So I think there's value.
All right, good deal. Good deal. All right, Rich, you want to jump in?
I really hope the Eagles win, but I think black and white is going to be the color.
And who are your picks? Say your picks for the Super Bowl as well.
I'm picking the Eagles.
Who you got, Quake?
I'd love to see the Eagles win. Yeah. Okay. But I wouldn't bet against Mahomes though.
All right. Ken, you want to jump in next?
Yeah, so first I'll go with the Chief because I detest the very existence of all teams out of this. And my party closing shot is I'm troubled by the trends in our federal government because I just think lost lost in all the madness is while people like we've talked ourselves into the federal government is a bad place doing more bad stuff than good stuff. And I live in DC, and I know a lot of people who work for the government, and they just go to work every day, and they don't do bad stuff. Maybe they all could be more efficient. Maybe every agency could be more efficient, but that place is full of real people doing day jobs, and I hope we turn this around quickly before those real people get hurt more. So,
right. Understandable. Right. Pop, you want to go?
Yeah. So, what's on my mind is in a time where keeping my peace is priority number one. You're constantly being bombarded with things that try to upset that peace. And just for me to be in part of this conversation, a lot of these conversations where we do go back and forth on some things that I've purposefully tried to remove myself from, is a real stretch. But they are necessary conversations that had to be had, because I believe that the course that we're on, where we continue to drive division between people, is leading us down a path that some prophesize, others predict, others hope. But if you're taking actions that are driving us down that direction, then you're gonna look like an oracle. So my word of advice to everyone is to do whatever it takes to maintain your peace, because some things you can control those things you can't. Don't let it ruin your day, or don't let it ruin your life. So that's my 2 cents on that. For the Super Bowl, look, if you betting against Mahomes, just give me your money. All right. Chiefs repeat, first time it will be done since a guy named Curly Lambeau and a guy named Vince Lombardi did it. And one of them has a stadium named after him, the other one has a trophy named after him. So repeat, Chiefs.
Ty?
I don't have too much to add to that. Like Chunk was saying, maintain your peace, but just know as a society, no party. It's not a party thing. To me, I think the government, you have to have checks and balances, and that's my biggest concern. That again, both sides, no matter who's in the office, I mean, there's just a certain level of how government is ran. But at the end of the day, if you don't have checks and balances, if everything is just one-sided and unilateral, it's going to be tough. And so I don't care. And I would say the same thing with the other way around. The one thing I've always said was, I've always been one of those where, there's some good ideas and things I agree with on both sides. They always have. There's never a perfect line. And that's the thing that gets me. It's not saying all, but the majority of folks I know refuse to say, if I say one thing about who's in control, I'm going against them. And it's okay to speak up, no matter who it is. So even if you agree with one party, but you got to know everything they do is not right. You can't just blindly go with it or make excuses, because no matter what I've seen lately, is no matter what because you can tell. No, and I'm not talking about Rich, because again, I've loved the conversation to mess with you, Rich. But in general, I've had some conversation this week, in where you can tell that they want to say something, but instead of speaking up, they think if they say one thing negative, like let's say when they went through and he did the I forget what you call it,
executive orders,
executive order on civil rights. Again, I'm talking to someone who knows it, because if Biden had done that same thing, he would have lost his mind. So in this case, instead of I'm just going to justify, well, we see what happens. As always, we'll see what happens. It's okay to speak up on certain things. I don't care who it is. Obama did some things I didn't agree with, and I can say it. But don't feel that you have to blindly follow somebody, because people will make mistakes. And if you blindly support everything someone does, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's no matter whose side. And that's the thing that I've seen. And I'm going to say 27 to 20. I'm going to go with Philly. But I will not put my money.
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my parting shot is, or what's on my mind is, this is Black History Month, and we haven't mentioned anything about Black history, so I want to, give a word out to the Greensboro Four. 4 young men who sat down at a Woolworth lunch counter, A&T graduates, North Carolina A&T graduates, and they changed the world. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And another thing is, I mentioned to you, if it's not dirt bikes or bass fishing, I'm probably talking shit. So I'm going to talk some dirt bikes. I want to give a shout out, Black History Month, to my guy, James Stewart Jr. He was the first ever African-American to win a national motorsports championship in this country. And he did it at the age of 16 years old. Right. Nice. So I'm going to give a big shout out to James Stewart. He made history in a little known sport, but it made big strides.
So that makes for 2 Black people who ride motor like you and him. That's about it, right?
I got some guys. I got some people I'm gonna bring on this Brown Day race too. So
hey, just make sure you let me know when the episode is.
He wants to know it.
2 times. Now look, we got a parting shot we're gonna do. Let me clear this. And this is our party shot. I kind of picked this today. This was something I found pretty funny. So give me just a second here to find this, if I can.
By the way, P, you make a great executive producer.
Doing a great job, bro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Kudos.
So we are going to, let's see if we find this. Give me just a second.
Because that could have deteriorated.
Ooh. Come on, you there?
Water. Deterred his image. That ain't it.
No.
They detrimented. Is that it?
Okay. Okay. Hold on.
Okay. So that could have detrimented his. That ain't it. Because that could have
Oh man, I just found that hilarious when I saw it.
Wow.
So hopefully we got everybody leaving on a good note. Today I want to thank everybody for joining in and giving their opinions and perspectives. And hopefully we can do this on a weekly basis. But hopefully no one is mad. And if you are, with our logo, that little yellow sun in the back, is hopefully the sun will come up tomorrow. You won't be mad. So.
A great name on the podcast, by the way, Paul.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, we're glad you guys are. I'm glad you guys are on board. I think people want to hear your perspectives.
All right.
Good night, gentlemen.
Peace.
Have a
Good
good
night,
one.
brothers.
Peace.
Stop, look, and listen. Enjoy the vibe. Me and my peoples, we keep it live. So take a toke or take a sip. Hold up, don't take a sniff. I hope you feeling this deep in your bones. What you been missing? A mellow tone. Not from your city or from your hood. I got you smiling and feeling good. The show is done. Relax a bit. I hope the people will fuck with it. Open your mind, open your heart. The dialogue we hope will start. But if not, we'll say we tried. We didn't run, we didn't hide. We love this world, the people too. And what we do for you. Out.